Everybody, I'm Allison. Thank you for joining me for Where I'm From 152 with Judy. Um, what have you been reading? I read While You Were Out by Meg Kissinger, and I want to thank Sarah Leipov for sending it to me because she thought I would like it, and she was right. I thought it was really, I mean, it's powerful because Meg Kissinger has decades of journalistic experience reporting on mental health, and she also has real life experience with her family and her siblings. And it just, and I am excited. I've connected with Meg and she'll be joining me for a poem later this year. So that's fun too when you read someone's book and you post about how awesome it is. And then they are, someone you're connected with on social media. So, Judy, you're doing everything right. You're requesting, I'm approving it. Um, Sometimes it's just persnickety and doesn't work immediately. And if after a while it still doesn't work, we'll try again. Um, Instagram Live is just its own special thing. Special is a nice word for it. But I hope everyone is enjoying August. I'm I'm feeling better. I think. I mean, I'm not like 100%, but I've definitely turned a corner where I'm not in pain all the time. Okay, so it says, Judy, that you're not able to join. It says you're unable to join. So that's make sure you're on your phone. I know I said it in the email, and you probably are, but it's just something I have to say. So, oh, here you are.
Oh, thank goodness.
It's really like it's a very strange thing. Like it just is like that. And now having done it 152 times, I'm used to
Oh,
like,
thank you for your
okay,
patience. I'm
yeah,
not always very good with this.
but you're doing
Okay.
fine. It's Instagram. Like it's not a you problem. And that's what I always like tell people, like, you're okay, you're doing great. Um, so how are you today, Judy?
Good, thank you. How are you? It's so lovely to meet you in person.
You too. It was funny. I don't know if you've read this book I was talking about While You Were Out by Meg Kissinger. Have you read it?
No, I
Um,
haven't.
You might like it.
Well,
A
while
sibling
you
lost.
were out?
Yeah. A sibling by Meg Kissinger. A sibling lost friend, Sarah Lebov, sent it to me because the author has she's had siblings die. So it's not the main thrust of the book, but it is very important to the book. And I was saying she's a journalist as well, and she's been reporting on mental health for decades, and her siblings died by suicide. So it was a really interesting book because I don't know, she's a bit old, she's older than me, and just kind of the silence surrounding not only death but especially suicide, you know, and how that was something like you just kind of were like, oh, we're not going to talk about that, um, which I experienced.
That's interesting. I just had a call with Mass General today about our fund because it's at the Eating Disorder Center at Mass General. So again, mental illness that
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
silenced.
And I think, I mean, I don't know if you experienced this, for those of you who don't know, Judy, how Judy and I know each other is through sibling loss. And Judy, you are one of three sisters, and you're the only surviving sister.
Yes.
Um, and I don't know if your family talked about it. My family, it wasn't like anyone said don't talk about it, but it just kind of we just sort of moved on.
Well, my sister had anorexia and
Mhm.
bulimia, and it was the 1970s. So
Right,
then it was not talked about at
right,
all. And, rumors spread that she was on
right,
drugs and, she was
right.
in the nut house, and people would point at me and talk and whisper. And it was a very hard time because she was 16 and I was 14 when she first got sick. So
Then
people
I
didn't
think
talk
you
about
would like this book for sure. I mean, there's definitely some overlap there with that sort of in the nut house and all that kind of like, you, feeling othered by the experience, not only because of the grief, but also the kind of grief. And it's like an extra layer of silence and shame. Yeah. I'm so sorry for your losses.
You too.
Yeah, I just actually met Molly in real life the day before yesterday, who is a connection Judy and I have because Margot is how Judy and I are connected, and Margot is Molly's mom. And Molly and I have become very good friends. And it was so special meeting her in real life. I
It's
was
so
like,
nice to
oh
finally
my
meet people that you've connected with, and we're all
God.
connected with, and it's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Margot, how Margot and I met is really a funny story too. But 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously all of us would prefer that none of our siblings ever died, but this is like something that has come out of it. And for me, recently, in the past few years, after, I mean, my brother's been dead 40 years. So it's been a long time that I haven't had community around that loss, but it is a sweet thing to have now.
So we're on the same time frame because Shane, it'll be 43 years, and Margie 34 years. So you're right. So those times we didn't have this sense of community. You're right.
No.
And having this sense of community now, I'm so grateful, and
Yeah.
I've met such wonderful people, and just to have that speak the same language and understand
Yeah.
it, even decades later, it's still such a gift.
It is. It is. And I think if you had told me this even 20 years ago, I would have thought, oh, well, I'll be over it or something. Because that was the goal for so long, was just to be over it, as if that's possible. So I think the thing that has been I mean, there's so many reasons that this community is special to me, but I think it's also just knowing, like, you know, over it isn't the goal. Like, there's nothing wrong with me that I'm not over it. You don't, that's not what happens to anyone. So,
It's always part of you. It's just
yeah.
goes through um, waves and
Hmm.
calmness,
Yeah,
peaks and flows.
for sure.
This year, for some reason, other Margie's anniversary hit me very hard. I don't know why. I think a host of different reasons, and who knows? Other years, you just kind of the anxiety, and you can't. Your feelings, your heart is your heart. Your feelings are your feelings, and no one can tell you to
For sure.
stop. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so would you like to read your poem, or would you like to say anything else before you read your poem, Judy?
Um, yeah, I'll read my poem. I wrote a poem.
You
This is
did.
very out of my
You wrote a
wheelhouse. So
poem.
thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm from Party Dresses and Petticoats, from Black Patent Leather Mary Janes. I am from Homework Crowding the Kitchen Table, a circular white formica table with glasses of whole milk. I am from a front lawn with billowing treat that shaded and protected our corner lot home. I am from Friday night candy treats and Brigham's ice cream cones with Margie and Jane. Look both ways before you cross the street. From riding bicycles, playing tag, and walking to school with the entire neighborhood, a bell rung to call for dinner. I'm from the eastern coast, not far from Boston and sandy beaches, kept warm by handmade Afghans, our family of 5 now too. I am from memories kept deep in my heart to pass on to new lives and new generations.
Beautiful. You wrote a poem and it was beautiful, and you read it out loud.
Wow.
Those are all
Check,
accomplishments.
check,
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 check, check.
check, check.
So, what was the process like for you, Judy, to write the poem and to think about writing a poem? I know it can be really intimidating. It was for me.
Um, well, part of my journey was that because I didn't grieve for such a long time, was a lot of the memories were lost, and that kind of haunted me because not talking about my sisters and all of that. So writing this poem was kind of sparked some memories, and that was really special for me and to do it. And it was just kind of writing for me, my memoir and everything, and starting to write in a journal when I first started it was such a healing process for me, because as an introvert, being able to
Mhm.
express myself and keeping my feelings so close to the vest writing was a wonderful tool to kind of get my feelings out there. So this was another avenue of writing, is kind of a new genre for me to use, so to speak. So this was another creative part of writing that I've never done. So it was really fun on a whole lot of different levels,
Yeah.
exploring and writing and the memories and all of the above.
Honey, sorry, my kid just walked
Right.
in. But
Oh, wow.
um, he's fine. He was very surprised too. So I wanted to say that it was beautiful. I think that it's it's such a special feeling when you remember something that you haven't remembered before. It feels like, I don't know. It's a discovery, but there's also just something for me hopeful about it, because it's like, oh, that this is here. Like these moments that I can recover them. It's possible to remember things that I know and that I thought I didn't remember. And I'm glad the poem did that for you. Oh goodness, it's saying thumbs up.
Oh, that's one of those weird AI things coming in.
I
Hello.
know. It's so um, 2 poems ago, Rebecca told me you can do this heart thing and it'll do that. And I was like, oh, that I want to know.
It just
Like that one I
did it. It just
is
did it.
useful. Yeah. But the thumbs up, I'm not a fan. Um, but yeah, I think for me too, it was something I was actually just talking about with Molly. And, I didn't write anything after I was 10. And I also just, I mean, there wouldn't have been space to do that. Like I wouldn't have, I mean, it wouldn't have felt safe for me to do it. And it just isn't something I would have done. And so I do sometimes feel like that guilt, like, oh, I should have captured more. I should have held on to more. I should have, um, but there's no wrong way to do it. Like we were surviving. We were doing the best we could. And so it feels really sweet to recover those things later for me.
Yeah, I think guilt is I think we all struggle with it, and I think we all are very hard on ourselves. And like you said, you were 10, I
Yeah.
was 25, and I think nobody knows how to deal with this. And, we're young, and there's no rule book, there's no guidebook, and there's no how to. And I think everybody is different in the circumstances and the ages. And I think we have to be compassionate with ourselves, but we're always beating ourselves up. We should have done this, we should have done that, and we should have done this. And of course, I mean, I have a lot of guilt myself for a host of different reasons, but you're right.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's right what you said about compassion for ourselves, like remembering. And I think for me, in therapy, I connect with these younger versions of myself, and it was like doing parts therapy. And it's interesting, like reconnecting with, like, say, the 12-year-old version of myself. While I wouldn't remember it this way, it's like the first thing that she kind of says to me is how sad she is her brothers died. Like at 12, even though I wasn't saying it out loud, or it wasn't something I
right.
was sharing with people, it was very much a thing that was with me all the time.
And
Um,
what I finally made some peace with is that I don't really remember, like, what Jane's favorite ice cream
right,
flavor was.
right,
And does that really matter? Or what Margie's,
right.
favorite game that she'd like to play.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I mean, I'm remembering more and more. I
Mm-hmm.
remember the love, and
Yeah,
that's the most important. But, these minutia details that I was, haunted by, and I think I made myself, so upset. But, more and more, like doing this poem, I'm like, oh yeah, that we sat around that table, and the
yeah,
ringing the bell to come in for dinner. I mean, that's
yeah.
that's like that's the big stuff, and that's
Mm-hmm.
and the love and those childhood memories. I mean, that's what I want to remember.
Yeah, and that you shared all of that. I think that's also the thing, as you remember even just large pieces of your childhood. It's like, oh, we shared this, and it is the love for sure. And that's the thing that I feel like, as I have given myself more compassion and been more honest about how it's affected me, I feel a lot more of that than I used to, like his love and how it's always there.
Yeah, and I think for years, I don't know if you felt this, but because I didn't talk about them whenever, I always felt I wasn't whole, like
Yeah.
something was missing. And
Mhm.
I couldn't put my finger on it. And it's because they weren't, I wasn't making them present and
Mhm.
part of my life and not
Mhm.
talking about them.
Mhm.
So I always felt that something was missing. And
Mhm.
it was because I wasn't talking about them and they still, even though they were gone, but they weren't this way, they're always now with me because I talk about them and share them.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's really it's like a little untold piece that you and I mean it's something we talk about often when I meet people who have lost siblings, like the question of, how many siblings do you have? And the like like how do I answer that, in a way that is and it's I think many of us get to the point where it's like the answer is different depending on who you're talking to. There's not one answer. And but I would guess, especially for you, you know, saying you're an only child just doesn't feel true, but sometimes you don't want to get into it with like some random person you're meeting in the grocery store line, you know.
I struggled with that for
Yeah.
decades. And I used to just say it's just me, just because I didn't want to get into
Mm,
it.
yeah.
And now I say, and unequivocally, I say, listen, it's taken me a lot of years, a lot of
Yeah.
therapy. I'm
Yeah.
67 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Once you hit
Yeah.
60, it's like you
Right.
don't care.
Right.
So I said, now I say unequivocally, I'm the middle of three, and sadly, I lost both my sisters, and that's what I say now. But I know it changes with everybody and everybody's comfort
Yes.
level, and it
Hmm.
changes over time.
Yes.
But
And the
this is what I
situations
said.
and
This
all that.
is
Yeah.
this is my this is my this is
Yeah.
my tagline today.
Yeah, it's just given me also lots of like food for thought in general about questions I
Of
ask people, like, because so many
course,
people have, like a lot of people don't want to be asked what they do for a living, or, all these, it's
right?
like,
Absolutely.
like, oh, so what do you watch on TV? Like, I've gotten much more into those, like, what are your hobbies? What are your, like
Yeah.
very open-ended
Well, even,
questions.
you used to ask if people like are going to
Right,
college, and now like you
right,
just say, what are they up to? You
right.
don't say, you kind of have to, because the
Yeah,
world is very different
yeah.
today, and nothing's so traditional. There's no traditional
Hmm.
families, and you just kind of have to be,
Hmm.
I think, but I think, super sensitive
Yeah.
because of what we've been through, kind of how we ask, or the questions we don't ask.
Right. I didn't think, especially when you're a younger person, how many siblings you have is a very common question. At least it
Right.
was for me, like going to college, and like it was like one of the icebreakers, and not only is Michael dead, but I'm estranged from two of my brothers. So it's like a really complicated answer. So it's just like, let's not. Can we talk
Mhm.
about something? I mean, I'm happy to give the answer, but it does invite a lot of follow up questions, which I'm not embarrassed about, but it's like not always something I want to talk about at length. Um, so anything else you about the poem? Because we're talking a lot about sibling loss. And um, I mean, I thought I loved how you acknowledged that, Margie and Jane, like that, you're now a family of two. And that is such a dramatic shift. I recently was thinking about that too, like how your whole family dynamic does change. And so I love the way you acknowledge the loss and that change.
And my last line, onto new lives and new generations, because I'm now a grandmother of three under five.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, not all one family, two different
Busy.
families, my two daughters. And so coming from girls, now I have two grandsons, which is a whole lot of
Yeah.
fun. And then my granddaughter is named for Margie, and my
Oh,
daughter is named for my sister Jane. And with each birth came a lot of emotions,
I bet.
obviously.
Hmm.
But it's, with his grief, there's love. With his joy, there's love.
It's
And the
true.
two merging. And, my heart is torn in so many different directions with the both of them. But there is new life and new generations. And I'm beyond grateful to have, all of them.
Hmm. I think with milestones, there's always emotions, right? like that kind of, wanting to share those milestones and imagining. I think for me, like Michael would have been 65, and my mom was saying, "Oh, I was thinking of him like saying, would he collect Social Security or would he not?" Or, like
Yeah,
just the things, that just didn't happen.
right. I'm going to have that this year because I put a pause on my skating fundraiser, which would be in November, their birthday. So Shane would be 60, coming up on 65, and Margie
Mhm.
70, and
Mhm.
I'm kind of,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
milestones. Yeah.
And in the anthology that we're working on, we have an essay from a woman who's, I think, in her 70s talking about, it was for her 50 year, she still thinks of her. And I think that that is a surprise and something I've learned from older siblings. Like, you think about them as you age too, like how you would be spending these years together, and sharing your grandchildren and reflecting back and having somebody who reflects with you and remembers.
Well, I think in some ways somebody calls us veteran grievers, seasoned
Mm-hmm.
grievers, or whatever you call us.
Oh, that's funny.
I
I hadn't
think
heard that.
that it shifts
So,
again, and I think it's in some ways it becomes harder because you're going through these different types of life cycles, and I mean, I think each age and you miss them almost more
mhm,
as the years go on, I think.
mhm. And I think that having that person that you're like, hey, could you, I think with grandchildren, I think you'll see pieces of them in them, in your
Oh,
grandchildren.
it,
Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah.
already do.
And
I
it's like
mean,
a
it's,
beautiful thing,
yeah,
but you also like
right.
wish, oh, hey, I wish I could like nudge you and say, can you believe this?
Yeah, right,
Hmm.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a real gift. Uh, but yeah, it's not without emotion for sure.
Yeah. And listen, I know, listen, I've lost, but I've
Yeah.
gained, it's
Yeah.
all bittersweet, as we know, right?
Yeah. 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 Um, do you have any closing thoughts, Judy, before we wrap up about the poem or anything else?
No, I just think that you're doing such a wonderful project here, and it's such a gift to so many, and I'm just so honored and proud to be part of it.
Oh, thank you. I am so grateful that it exists and that I get to do this every week. I don't know, it's such a joy for me. And I think partially because of all the things that happened to me when I was a child, that it's a time that I sort of tried to just kind of put away where I was from. And now I write about it. And it's been so healing for me. And it's such a gift hearing about where all of you are from. It's just something that really brings me not only joy, but um, like peace, you know. So, so thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And I look forward to talking to you more, as I know we will. So thank you, Margot, because you'll probably watch this. Thank you, Margot, for introducing us.
Thank you. Right.
Okay. Have a wonderful day,
You
Judy.
too. Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.